Welcome to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, a sacred space for empowerment through modern magic, spiritual activism, and reclaiming your power. I am your host, Nixie Marie, feng shui practitioner, earth activist, and mystic, here to support and inspire your journey in becoming the change you wish to see in this world. That change starts within. Join myself and fellow thought leaders, metaphysical experts, and luminaries each week as we explore practical and magical ways to living in your highest alignment. Your journey as an empowered goddess begins here. Let's dive in. Well, hello, goddesses. Welcome back to the show. Happy Tuesday, if you're listening to this when we release this, or whenever else you're listening and tuning in. Happy magical day. I am really, really excited for the episode that I'm going to share with you guys today. I had the honor to discuss and share. It wasn't even like an interview. I mean, it was an interview, but it felt like such a heart-centered, soul sister conversation about life and art and experiences in life that kind of bring us to a deeper sense of awareness and surrender. I had a beautiful artist, Catherine Rains, on the podcast, and she's going to be sharing with you guys today her journey as an artist and what she's done to find herself in a beautiful full-time art position and how she's found such peace with surrender. But she just shares from such a heart-centered, vulnerable, authentic space of her journey. And she also battled breast cancer, but the way she handled it was like a freaking warrior, and also a divorce. So all these like life altering things that sometimes, have tendencies to really shake us up, really allowed her to find her center, her purpose. So I'm really excited to have had Catherine on the show and be able to bring her message to you guys today. It's definitely something different. While she's very connected to her spirituality and she shares her practice and her rituals that she does before she paints and creates art, it just felt like such a magical conversation, and I want to have more of these. So before we get into the conversation, I would love to thank you all so much for all the Patreon subscribers that we've had that has really showed up to support the show. Thank you so much. And for anyone who's interested in becoming a Patreon, you can go to visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/Goddess Collective, or check out the link in our show notes, or you can follow us on Instagram at I Am Goddess Collective Podcast. And in the link in our bio, we actually have the link to find our Patreon. There's many different tiers to join. There's the first tier, that's $2.22, of course, 222. I love my magical numbers. So anything starts from there, and it goes up to a high tier where you can work with me to design your sacred space through feng shui. And I'm excited for that one and looking forward to anyone that's interested in curating magic inside their home. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support and all the reviews that I've had come in on Apple Podcasts. If you have not yet written a rating or review, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. We greatly appreciate it. It's how we grow this sisterhood and impact more hearts and lives through the messages that get shared here on I Am Goddess Collective. So feeling really called to just dive into this episode because it's so good and so juicy. So let's welcome Catherine on the show. I'll see you guys on the other side. Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome back to another episode of I Am Goddess Collective podcast. I am very excited about the show we have today. I have a lovely artist that I'm interviewing today. We have Catherine Rains on the show. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, Nixie.
How are you doing today?
I am really good. I'm really excited about talking to you and seeing where this takes us.
Me too. I was saying before we got started recording, that you are the first artist to come on the show. So really looking forward to hearing your journey. For those of you guys that don't know who Catherine Rains is, she is a mixed media collage artist. And however, until age 33, magical number 33, she often said, "I don't have an artistic bone in my body." She discovered her life calling in the middle of an overwhelming day job where she created her first collage on a whim to relieve stress. This simple beginning eventually led her to quitting her day gig and running a thriving art business for 4 years. Then Catherine's journey took an unexpected left turn, and she has an amazing sort of heroine story about breast cancer, what led her through that, and what had brought her back to her art. So I cannot wait to kind of dive into all that. Sounds like you've got quite a story for us to share. So before we get started into all my questions about you, I love to start the show with this question. What crystals are you currently working with, and why, if any?
Well, throughout my life, I've carried lots of different crystals at different times, but at this very moment, I'm not. I actually, instead of carrying crystals, I carry mantras, which is kind of unusual, but I actually carry a list of mantras with me. And I kind of change them out depending. It's like people changing out crystals depending on what they need. I change out mantras, and my mantras have kind of stayed consistent over the last, 25 years. They just, it depends on what I need, what my growth is for the moment, but I can tell you what they are.
Okay. What's your current mantra?
My favorite mantra right now, it's actually a combination of them. I love the mantra, "This moment is my destiny." Is one I've used many times. In fact, it got me through a couple really, really challenging times in my life. The other one I love is "Be happy no matter what." So no matter what life gives me, one of my main values is that I'm going to be happy. And so I'm not going to get into the drama, even though I want to get into the drama because my lizard brain wants to. And my other favorite one is to say yes. So my very favorite things to do when something starts triggering me and I want to get into it. I want to get into the drama. I say the word yes to myself. And then in my mind, I'm kind of like painting over whatever words would come up next, so it's like, blah, 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 blah. So I just I had to pick an imaginary paintbrush and I paint over them. And I have a blank slate, and then I go on, and it's created magic in my life. Just that one little thing. Things have transformed in amazing ways. So I kind of I have 4 or 5 others, but I kind of use those they kind of come in and out depending on where I am, either in the day or what I'm working on in that moment. And I'm always working on something, aren't we all, right?
Oh my goddess. That's amazing. I love that. I love that you just totally shifted gears there. And mantras, I think, have the ability to really bring in a new story and paint. I love that you bring your own artistic perspective in that, because I always see that. It's okay, erase, get rid of, remove all these old limiting beliefs or stories, because that's what I think they all come from, those voices inside. But then to just put something there instead of it and have these mantras, it's so powerful. How did you start working with those, and what had you really get to that point where you're like, I'm working with mantras every day and this is how?
I'm trying to think where it started, but I think they really came about in earnest. I read a book many, many years ago by Shakti Gawain. She wrote a book called Creative Visualization. This is at the very beginning of it. And I learned about how to manifest things way back then, although that's not really my intention now, is to manifest things. But she talked about, having 3 or 4 or 5 things you say all day long. I am a beautiful human being. I am in the job of my dreams. And not necessarily saying what it is you want, but saying how you want to feel, what it is that you ultimately would like, even though you don't know what it is. If that makes sense. So that's kind of where it started. And when I did that back then, I had these like 5 phrases that I said over and over and over again in present tense. I am, whatever it is. And it created my very first job out of the blue. And when I got that very first job, it was kind of like a hit of energy. It's like, yeah, this works. All you have to do is be present, the present moment, as opposed to living in the future or worrying about the past. And you get something better than you thought you could have. And it's continued that way. I mean, my entire life has been basically surrendering, surrendering. It's a combination of surrendering and saying mantras, so it's like, I'm going to accept my life at all costs, exactly as it is. And I would like to be happy at the same time. So, and then for some magical way, the universe, the divine, points me in the direction I'm supposed to go without me knowing where that is, because I never really know.
Right.
I'm kind of anti goal setting, like anti, like saying, this is what I want.
Okay. Tell me about that.
It doesn't work for me. I've been an entrepreneur and I've been a businesswoman for many, many years. And when I do all the business things, you set your 10 intentions for the year. I want to make so much money. I want to, build a thriving, whatever it is. It's all good, to set goals. But a better goal for me is to say, I am happy no matter what, or I am loving where I am, no matter what it looks like. I love this person who is yelling at me. When I intently get into exactly where I am, no matter what it looks like on the surface, if I'm intently where I am, all those goals are irrelevant, because it's like the universe takes over and takes me where I'm supposed to be, as opposed to where my ego or my lizard brain would like to take me, because my lizard brain is really limiting. It has these like grandiose ideas about making so much money. I'm going to have, let's say, I'm going to sell my art to Hallmark, or, all these kind of wild ideas, which are all lovely. But I think the universe has bigger plans. And I limit myself by saying, this is the thing. This is what I want. That's why I'm kind of against what is that? The standard visualization where you say, this is what I want. And you say it over and over again and you want to get it, because you might say it over and over again and you might get it, but it's the wrong thing. And I've had that happen, so I actually visualize something into being, and that wasn't the thing that I should have been doing at all. But, you can manifest lots of stuff. So it's kind of like a long way of saying that my main intention in life is not to goal set, but rather to set an intention of how I want to feel. And how I want to feel is I want to be so intent in this moment that all I want to do is be sitting here talking to you. That's all I care about. And that's the truth. There's nothing else that exists in this moment is you.
Okay. Well, that's my goal. I love that take on goal setting. I think I often find there's a lot of pressure in goals, and you spoke a lot about the reptilian side of your brain. Can you enlighten those who maybe don't know what that actually means, and how they can really maybe identify like what that voice is, or how that might be leading the show?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm learning that day by day myself too.
Yeah.
But I think there are, I've read some things, like I think it's called the Buddha brain, and it's a book on the Buddha brain, and he talks about, or is it she or he? But anyways, they talk about how we are actually hardwired, from our ancestors from birth to actually be looking for the bad, or not necessarily even the bad, but we're always looking for how we can protect ourselves. And part of that protection is we're trying to build this foundation, whether it's money, it's a career, it's a relationship. We want a firm foundation so that we don't fall in a pit and die. It's very ancestral. And I think all that's important, except that we let that run our show. So like what way I understand it is that we're actually always looking for the tiger that's about to eat us up.
Right.
So we're running ahead of ourselves as opposed to being where we are. And it's not really necessary in this day and age. That's actually, we're not having tigers eat us up. We just think we do. So, at least my intention for many, many decades is, how do I really live where I am, as opposed to trying to run 10 steps ahead of myself. And I'm learning it over and over again. I really believe my entire life has been all of the things I've gone through, from breast cancer, divorce, all of these things have not been hardships. They have been one single lesson. How do I surrender to where I am? And when I do, complete miracles happen. I don't have to plan. I don't have to make things happen. My whole goal in life right now is not to strive. I am so tired of making it happen and to strive. I can, because it happens faster and more abundantly, more easily, gracefully, when I don't try to make it happen.
Yeah. So when you started your art career and left your day job, what was this big aha lesson moment for you that really came forth in order to step into your creative power?
Wow. That's like the $1 million question. So let me tell you the story behind it.
Yeah.
So I had set my entire life up to have one career. I'd gotten a master's for it. I had moved a couple times to get better jobs. And my whole life goal was to become a career development director at a major university like Duke, USC, and a big one. And I was really good at doing this. I was on my second job hop. I needed 4. The fourth one would have been the big one. And I was almost there. I was doing really well professionally. People loved working for me. I was published. I was often interviewed in the press. I was making it. And I really hated my job. I was miserable doing what I was doing, but no one knew I was miserable. I was just projecting competence. And I had this goal. I knew this is, it was a natural for me to be a career counselor for many different reasons. I had taken all the career tests. This is what I should be. Yet I didn't like it. And it was just a kind of a really bizarre thing. Here I am, a career counselor, helping kids figure out their life's intention or goal. And I hated what I'm doing. So, becoming an artist was like the last thing I had considered. This is not like something in my family of origin. I was considered the non-artist. I can't paint, I can't draw. My parents were very, very good artists, but they didn't encourage me at all to do it. In fact, they took over my projects. They took over even my term papers, my poems, whatever I was writing or creating, they would take it over, redo it, and I would submit their work. So I really didn't think I had anything. So, artistic expression came about, like you had said in my bio, it really came about because I was desperate. I hated my job and I needed some relief. So I remembered this old exercise where you write down all the things you'd love to do as a kid, but you weren't told to do them. And I wrote down this long list of ridiculous things. At least they were to an adult, but they were things like I loved making forts and kick the can. And I loved playing with Barbie dolls. And I had a list of like 30 things. And in the middle of this list was the word collage. And I have a picture of myself as a 10-year-old holding the only collage I ever remember making. And I just remember the feeling that collage gave me. It was like, wow, that was so cool making that collage. So I said, hey, who can't make a collage? I can't draw and paint, but I can make a collage. So one Sunday I got all these catalogs together and ripped them up and made this very juvenile looking thing, a collage. And I just can't tell you how much fun I had. It was just like my whole life exploded in that moment. And I realized I want to do this all the time. So, but It wasn't something I was going to do, other than to play. So for 3 years, I just played and played and played. And I kept working on my job. But somewhere along there, I was making I was making probably a collage a day for like 3 years, but it wasn't, it was just for play. But then somewhere along there, this was like 3 years into making these collages. I was 6 years into this one job, still miserable. And I realized some phrase popped into my head, and the phrase was, "What you resist." And I was thinking, that couldn't be for me. I mean, yeah, what you resist persists. And I mean, it's an old spiritual principle. You know, I'd heard it hundreds of times, but how could that pertain to me? I mean, anybody would hate my job. I was getting yelled at all the time. It was a very, very stressful job. College jobs are not like bliss, like people think they are. And so, but how could that pertain to me? And I was thinking, I'm resisting my job. I'm resisting everything about my job. So in that instant, when I said, what you resist persists, I said, okay, how can I not resist this? And the other phrase popped into my head. And the phrase was, this moment is your destiny. So from that moment forward, I started saying to myself, every time I heard my brain go off and go, I don't want to be here. I wish this person wasn't talking to me. Why do I have to be in this meeting? All that kind of crappy stuff that goes on, which I call lizard brain. As soon as I started hearing myself complain, I would say to myself, whoa, no, this moment's your destiny. You've lived your entire life to be sitting in front of this person yelling at you. So be here.
Wow.
And so I started doing that. I started myself mid complaining, and I started sinking into these amazing people who were either yelling at me, or I was just having a meeting, a plain old meeting that I thought was boring. Like I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be somewhere else. And I spent my whole life to get this meeting, be in the meeting. And I did this for 3 months solid, and things shifted. Like within a month, I realized, oh my God, I like this job. No, let me correct that. I loved the job. I fell in love with this job that I'd hated for 6 solid years, and I didn't want to leave. I mean, I'm staying in the job now. I'm in. And then at the same time that this happened, I had a friend call me and told me that she had got a job offer out of the blue. Someone called her up and said, and she was connected like I am. I was very connected because a lot of employers were calling me. So a lot of people knew me in my area. So she had gotten a job offer just by picking the phone up. And I said, wow, I pick the phone up 30 times a day. So why wouldn't someone just offer me a new job? So at the same time that I'm doing this little, what you resist persists, and this moment's my destiny, in my brain, every time the phone rang, I would play this little game and go, there's my job. I know that's my job. So I picked the phone up. It wasn't my job. And I go, okay, it's okay. Next one will be my job. It was just entertainment because I really wasn't looking for a job because I loved the job I had. So this was a full 3 months of just focused, this moment's my destiny, and every phone call is my job. And at the 3-month mark, my future boss called me up and offered me a job. And she offered me the most amazing freaking job I could possibly imagine, other than art. Art is the ultimate job to me. But
yeah,
I got offered a job to be an MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator trainer. So I work for the publisher. And that was the next kind of that was the second big revelation, that I don't need to figure out what I want to do. What I have to do is be present where I am, and the universe will give me what I need. Literally. I mean, it will literally deliver something that I could never have gotten on my own, because getting this MBTI job, I didn't have the qualifications for it, didn't have the experience, yet they offered it to me. And it was twice the salary, everything I'd ever dreamed of in a job. But I couldn't just go apply for it. These jobs don't exist. But it did, because someone just called and gave it to me. With literally, I did nothing for it other than to give them the resume when they asked for it.
Wow. So
that's kind of
you had so many amazing points there. Just kind of listening to your story and how you really have found such a magical medicine in this surrender. Do you feel like being in that state of surrender is what allows for your creative channel to come through?
Yes. It's interesting because, I've done this surrender thing at least 5 times in my life with similar results. But this time I'm trying to apply this exact same thing to my art in a very real way, because it's very easy. I don't know because I know you're also an artist. it's very easy to do art and think, is this good? Will anyone else like it? Am I creating something that has any value, that has any meaning? So my lizard brain actually goes off again, you know? So I'm actually in a very physical way learning this all over again with my art. Even though I've been doing art a long time, I've been doing what I call transactional art. Like, I love my art. My art is like my spirit. It's my soul. I love it. But it's so easy to slip into, is it good? Will it have value? Will anyone buy it? As opposed to, oh my God, this art, I love doing this. You know, surrendering to the art itself is what I am learning all over again. So I don't think it's a one-stop shop. You know, for me, I've learned the surrender thing on all these different topics. And now I'm trying to apply it again to my art. And it's transforming everything again, which is really amazing.
So when you went through some of these big life changes with your with breast cancer, and you said you also were divorced previously, what helped you navigate through those times in your life?
It's funny because when I go through major trauma like cancer or divorce, it's actually easier to do this whole surrender thing than any other time, because it's almost like I have no choice.
Right.
You know, so when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was 44 years old, healthy, in a supposed happy marriage. Everything was great in my life. You know, I exercised, ate well. There was no signs. I have no family history of breast cancer. It came out of the blue. And suddenly I had breast cancer. And in that moment that I was diagnosed, I realized, wow, I've got to just let this happen. As opposed, I can't fight it. If I fight it and make it a problem, it will be a problem.
Right.
You know, whether I live or die out of this experience, it's going to happen anyways. You know, I don't really have a lot of control over whether this is going to be a death sentence or a life sentence. The only control out of the whole thing is being completely here, you know? So as soon as I was diagnosed, almost immediately, I started applying everything that I had learned from getting my MBTI job, which was, you know, as soon as I started freaking out, like, oh my God, you know, and maybe it's spread, I don't know. I mean, there's 1,000 things that go through your mind. Like, you think you're going to die, which you could. I would stop myself the same way I did with my lizard brain job and say, no, in this moment, do you feel bad? No, you feel actually pretty good. Is there any problem, any going on in your body? No, you actually feel healthy. You know, there is no problem at all in this moment. So I had to train myself then not to do that. And I believe that's part of why I had a really good result. You know, I didn't die, but I came out of it really well. You know, I did have a mastectomy, but I didn't have chemo. A lot of things happened in a very, very positive way because I didn't allow myself to go down the rabbit hole. That doesn't mean I didn't get scared or I didn't cry, but for the most part, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I remember, just a really short, but after I had breast cancer surgery and I came out of anesthesia and I realized that I was alive and I was, by the way, you're on morphine, right? So you're pretty happy. So at least I was really happy. So I woke up saying, oh my God, I'm alive. And we had a birthday party in my hotel room, in my suite, you know, in my hospital suite. I had a crown on and we had balloons and it was my birthday. And that's pretty much how I handled cancer. It's also how I handled divorce too, because divorce wasn't something I had ever planned on. I had a 31-year relationship. I mean, a high school sweetheart. I was completely in love. And my ex-husband was just, for a whole year, he was giving me fits. He was just arguing and just being nasty. And so when I'm going through really rough times, it's when it's easier for me to surrender. So when he was doing that, I would say, honey, I'm sorry you're having a hard time here, but I can't go there with you.
Yeah.
So you go do your thing and come back when you want to talk. And then I would say to myself, I'm going to be happy no matter what. I'm not going to go down this road and argue with this person who was kind of a lunatic at the moment. And I did that for 6 whole months. And the best thing in the world actually happened. He left. and I got a whole new life that
Wow.
was better than I ever thought
Oh my
was
gosh, I'm like
possible.
covered in chills. That is so crazy.
It is crazy. But when I go through these kind of difficult times, it's just like, what are you going to do? You're going to fight, or are you going to surrender to it? Because I believe these difficult times are given to me as a profound sacred gift. Like they are not accidents. They've never been accidents. And ironically, when I go through those hard times, I've learned the surrender thing. I got that down now. I'm really good at this. What I'm learning now is, how do you surrender when things are really good? Because I still have this resistance thing that goes on. Like, I'm resisting the fact that I live a great life. I'm doing full-time art, and I'm resisting full-time art. Now, that's crazy. I mean, there's no conflict in my life. I'm remarried. I had the most blissful, lovely man in my life. I live where I want to live. I have the best friends, and I'm resisting being a full-time artist.
So what does the resistance look like for you?
I'm making a piece of art, and I'm kind of beating myself up because I don't know what to do with it. Like, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this art. I'm not any good as an artist. Oh my God, I'll never make it. All this self-talk that says this art isn't good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to sell. I'm never going to make a living as an artist, blah, blah, blah. Same routine. It's like an old tape that won't stop. Yeah. But now, if the tape is on something good, that's crazy. But I think who said this? I think Byron Katie said this, that insanity is resisting what is. And so I'm resisting a good life, and I've already gone through enough tragedy. Now I want to learn how to live in bliss where I am. And that is what I'm learning, in a moment by moment basis, like, how can I just love just talking to you? Like, I don't need to get anywhere else except to be with you. That's what I'm learning. And that's non-resistance to me. Surrender to where you are. And that's when the miracle happens.
It's always so fascinating to me how when I have somebody on, they just sort of mirror my current experience as well. And my word for the year is actually bliss. And I discovered that word while I was in Thailand in that state of bliss. And I've tapped into that ability to be completely present, not have anywhere to go, not have anything to do. And I was like, okay, I figured out what that feels like now, but now how do I take this home with me? How do I live that? Because I can 1000% resonate with your story and going through a lot of things in life that create those chaotic hiccup moments. But then once everything's good, you're like, when is the rug going to fall out underneath me? And it's almost like we're programmed to expect the worst that's going to happen. So then we resist being in the moment, and we resist all the good that's around us.
Yeah, it's almost like you're looking for the shoe to drop, and at the same time, you're making the shoe drop.
Yeah.
As opposed to, look what you got. This is damn incredible.
Right.
But so hard to stay there. And the word that is just stunning. I mean, that is really beautiful. I love that. And it's the same as kind of like mine is like my word's yes. It's like yes to this, yes to every moment.
Yes.
Even when it doesn't look so good.
I agree. I think that there's so much beauty in the mess, and especially as an artist, just knowing that the process of creating is messy. There's paint that gets everywhere. There's glue. There's who knows what. And in that experience, beauty is created. So I really want to kind of get into your process, like what your creative process is. How do you start? Like, what's your inspiration? And then how do you get through that? And I mean, there was something, I have a couple like stirring questions because you kind of touched on it too. But also just as an artist being in business, because for me, And I know I've gotten this feedback a lot from listeners is, the block of I'm an artist, but I can't make it my work. So how do you deal with that creative process, knowing that it is work and being able to tap into that? And then like, what does that look like for you?
Wow. That's like a monster question there, Nixie. So,
I go deep,
So you have to guide me. So I go to the place you want me to go here. So let me just start at the simplest place. So the simplest place is I really focus on every day making my art a spiritual meditation. So my intention is my art is a form of meditation to connect me to the divine or to God, to the universe, whatever. So I have a very specific ritual that gets me going in the morning. I always do morning pages every day. So I write 3 pages every day, which sets my intention for the day really lovely. Excuse me. I also, when I finally get to my studio, I light a candle. I burn some sage, which I just did right before I started talking to you. And I open my arms and ask the divine to inspire my thoughts, my actions, my hands, to serve the highest good through whatever I'm about to make. And then I just stay there with my art for a little bit, holding whatever art that I think I'm supposed to be playing with. And I try to hold that intention as long as I can. And that works a lot. I mean, it works well, but my lizard brain still wants to come in, at some point during this process and wants to kind of derail it. Sorry. So I have to come back to it a number of times during the day. I also have little signs around my studio that actually remind me, like, yes, the word yes is painted different places. I don't have a word like you do, like bliss, but if I had a word, it would be the word connection. So more than anything else in the whole world, I want to be connected to the art as I'm making it. So I actually imagine myself sending and receiving love to the art. And I imagine the art sending love to me, like it's conduit going back and forth. And helps a lot, but it's not a one-stop shop. Like I just do this and I just make blissful art, because my brain still wants to go, is it sellable? Is it good? Will it go anywhere? What am I going to do with this art? Like, I don't even know how to finish some of the, there's a lot of unfinished pieces in our studios. So I don't even know what to do with, some of this art.
I'm staring at a lot of them right now.
Yeah. So, it goes in circles, but when I can stop that circle, that's when I make the best art, and I can just stay, I don't care what the fuck goes in my art. Just play. Play is the main shtick.
Well, now seems like the perfect opportunity to share with you goddesses our newest sponsor, the Moon Deck. The Moon Deck is a beautiful oracle set that connects you to your intuition and brings self-care rituals into your daily life. Created to foster community and healing, this entire set of 44 cards, plus a beautiful guidebook filled with rituals, is inspired by the cycles of the moon and the empowerment of women. It shares insights on growth, purpose, practice, and emotional well-being. The Moon Deck can be worked with as an oracle guide, as a daily tool for reflection and meditation, or simply in a tarot-inspired spread. As a goddess listener, you receive 10% off the entire site. So head on over to themoondeck.com/goddess and enter code goddessmoon to receive your discount. Happy rituals and oracle card pulling, sisters. I love you. Sisters, I have been waking up with so much gratitude and appreciation, all thanks to my favorite app, Yoga Wake Up. Yoga Wake Up has been founded by two of the most amazing humans that I have ever met, and I am honored to be able to announce that they are our newest sponsors for the show. Yoga Wake Up is an audio-guided yoga and meditation app that takes away your beeping alarm clock and implements mindfulness and stretching and yoga into your day. It's only about 5 to 15 minutes long, and it can be replaced as your snooze button, because I know that personally my man loves to press snooze and it definitely messes with my sleep cycle. So we've invited Yoga Wake Up into our morning routine because it truly has had the impact to change our morning and implement this beautiful ritual to have intention to start the day. Instead of scrolling on social media, which you all know we're pretty guilty of in one way, shape, or form, and instead empower you to get ready for the day, have courage, have confidence, have charisma to take on whatever comes your way. Head on over to yogawakeup.com/goddess to get 25% off as a Goddess Nation listener. Are you currently stuck at home, looking around your space going, this thing could use a really good cleaning? Well, I have a very exciting product for you to try. I have been, as some of you might know, I've been developing a product line for the past 3 years inside my cleaning business. This product line has been my new baby. It's something that I'm so incredibly proud of, and it is called Clarity. Clarity is an amazing, all organic, zero waste, full cleaning kit that makes your home smell delicious and invites you into a beautiful ceremony to clean and rid your space of all negative energies. So if you would like to try this beautiful cleaning kit, you can head on over to clarity.com/goddess. That's claryti.com/goddess to check it out. I love your ritual. I love that you have a ritual. I love that that's the way that you find that. And I think that it's so funny. I see myself in you in so many ways. I start my space. I bless my space. That's like my top priority when I get into my office. My office is split, or my creative studio is split up into my office that I run my other business in. So it's like I had to finally cut off the energies because I have such a busy mind. And when I bless the space, though, when I start with an intention, it changes my entire day. If I don't have that moment, I feel very, I can't quite find my focus. I can't quite find my groove. And, I'm on the computer a lot more than I would like to be. And I'm starting to shift that up a bit. So, the next part of that question sort of is in the work. How do you deal with your art being your work? Because I've often experienced a block when work becomes art and art becomes work. And I know that I'm sure other people can relate out there, or even have a story that says, I can't be a successful artist. And I think that all goes hand in hand.
Oh God, Nixie, it's such a big question. So I've actually been a full-time artist twice. The first time, I was an artist for 4 years, full-time. And that was the best time of my life and the worst time of my life. The best time of my life because I was making sacred art. It was amazing to have this time. I'd left my corporate job with MBTI, became an artist. The worst time of my life because it was the most stressful time, because I was constantly hustling to try to figure out how to sell this art.
Yeah.
Whether turning it into products, I was trying to get into wholesale licensing. I was going to fine art festivals. I had a few one-woman shows, but all that's a hell of a lot of work. So, it was constantly putting me in the brain of, it's got to be marketable.
Right.
You just can't. It's got to appeal to a lot of people in order to make a living, because I have to pay the mortgage here. So the pressure, at times that was so pressured that I couldn't even take the time from. I felt like I couldn't breathe because I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, hustle all the time. And I was making art too. The art part was beautiful.
Right.
It's when I had to living from it, which was half the time, it was 50%. So what happened was I worked for 4 years, and I never intended to stop my full-time art, but that's when I got cancer. And I really believe the cancer was the biggest gift of my life, because it stopped me from that crazy lifestyle. Although I never wanted to stop my art, but it did start me back working a professional job again. So I went back to my work with the MBTI for a second time, and with the intention that I'd only be there a year or two, and then I'd go back to my full-time art, because that's my life. It lasted 12 years. Yeah, 12 years, full-time professional work. And at the end of the 12 years, I figured out a way to actually integrate my art and my professional life together. I actually took my art on the road with me. So I would work during the day. I brought a 50-pound suitcase full of art supplies, and I turned every single hotel room into an art studio.
Oh my
and
God.
I did 3 hours of art a night. And that was one of the best art I made. I mean, I made a lot of art at night. And then at the end of that time, which was actually 2018 is when I actually got to leave my full-time job again. And I, by the way, for the whole 12 years, I asked God, when can I leave? Like, can I leave now? Please let me leave now. I want to go back. But I was completely surrendered to having a professional job. I was traveling around the country. I loved it. It was really great. If you're going to have a job, this is the one to have. But I never wanted to stop being a full-time artist. But I knew that I couldn't just jump ship again. So when I was a full-time artist the first time, I basically jumped ship. I said, okay, done. I want to go be an artist. This is my life. But I wasn't really listening to God. I wasn't really listening to the universe. I was just like, I hate this job. I just want to go. By the way, I didn't hate the job. I loved the job. I just didn't want a professional job. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be an artist. So I left kind of prematurely without really listening to my own inner self or listening to the signs. So when I did it the second time in 2018, I literally asked every single day for 12 years, when can I go? When can I go? And at the end of 12 years, it was the most beautiful ushering into my new life. My company said, we don't want you to go, but how about 1 week a month? And that is what I'm currently doing. So I work 1 week a month. I work 5 days a month. And the rest of the time I'm in my studio. And so I do professional work. I put a suit on and I get up and train people on the Myers-Briggs. And by the way, I love it. It's an amazing thing to get to do for people. But art is my life. So the way I've learned for myself, the way I've learned how to balance art and not make it work is to have a day gig that's so limited and takes so little energy. I mean, I wouldn't mind waitressing. I don't care what I did. I just don't want the pressure of my art having to make the full income. Ideally, that's what I wanted to do. I want to make 100% of my money from art. And I've made a lot of money from art. I sell art now all the time. I just don't want the pressure that all has to come from there, because it changes. I'm making art to be marketable, which you kind of have to do if you're going to make an income.
Yeah.
Until you so-called make it, until your art is just so popular that, everyone wants to buy it, regardless of what you make. I'm not there yet. But funny enough, when I do make art from this place of surrender, I'm just making art because, oh my God, I equate it to sex. I mean, it's the sweetest thing to do when you're there, when you're actually there, not trying to make it for a certain reason. I make incredible art. I make really beautiful art when I'm in that place. When I'm making it from a place of, you got to sell it, you got to make it good, it has to be appealing. Do you like it? Does my husband like it? Then it's shit. It's like, or it's at least a struggle. I could, one piece could take me 3 months as opposed to I can do it in 2 hours, when I'm just like doing it because it's pouring out of me. And to me, it's pouring out of me, from the divine. It's coming from me. I'm a conduit as opposed to I'm trying to make it from my head.
I'm so happy that that was all your answer.
That was my answer.
Yeah, I'm really happy that that's exactly how you painted the story for us. And I almost came to tears a couple times because your story gives us, those who maybe have those blocks or have those storylines, kind of a sense of practical ways to making things work. And I had that same story. I was chaotically trying to be the artist and vending, running around, and it was really hard. It was really hard. Barely at the $100 in my account at all times, and got myself into a lot of different financial hiccups, and that fear of never going back there is why I do what I do now. But you know, I see myself opening up to, you know, as you said, like, oh, you're an artist. I didn't even know. And for me, at just seeing the mirror in you of realizing, like, at some point I'm going to get there again. And because I am an artist at heart. That's who I am. That's who you are. And all the artists listening, that's, you know, in your core of core, that's who you are. And I do say to people now, I say, find a way to find stability, whether your art is coaching, whether your art is podcasting, whether your art is writing, but do find some form of stability, because creating from that place of fear of when am I going to pay my bills never works.
No, honestly, I think it's what gave me cancer.
Yeah, I believe that.
The universe had to stop me. And I don't want that on anyone. I don't want to know myself ever again. But, you know, it's so funny what you just said is that, you know, the whole push I had for those 4 years, the first time as a full-time artist, 100% was that I didn't want to ever have a job again. And ironically, I ended up having a job for 12 years. That was an amazing job, and still an amazing job. I only do it 5 days a month. But, you know, I can only say for myself. But I see a lot of people want to jump ship and be artists.
Yeah.
And that's what I want too. It's just so much sweeter when you have a balance of something else. You know, a trust fund would be nice, but in lieu of a trust fund, something that creates, you know, for me, I only make enough money to pay my bills. That's it. You know, I am not a money-driven person, although I love luxury. You know, I love having nice things. But, you know, I drive a 12-year-old car, you know, purposely, because this gives me the time and the energy to not have to work so much. You know, I want to work as little as possible and I live a great lifestyle. It's just, I don't have you know, I've saved, by the way, when I was working for the 12 years, I saved every penny I had, you know, so my whole goal was to have enough money in the bank that I didn't have to save once I left a job full time. So now it's just about just pay your bills and do art and learn how to be with my art in a really spiritual way, which is what my thing is now.
So how do you combine your spirituality into your art?
Well, the first part is what I told you, which is doing my ritual before I start. And like you said, you know, if I don't set an intention, if I just jump into art making without doing that, I might as well not do it, you know, go do something else. So that's the first part. The second part was, it wasn't that long ago that I realized I needed a why behind my art. I needed to have a reason that my art exists. Like, why do I make art? Like, what do I want to accomplish by being an art? And ironically, I couldn't believe I didn't know that. Like, this is actually new. I've been doing art a very long time, and I didn't have a why. So I did put a lot of energy to figure out this why. And I actually have it written here. So let me read it to you. I can't just recite it. It's kind of like still on I know what the essence is, but I can't actually say the whole thing. So the reason I create art is to profoundly connect to the deepest part of me, to the divinity within me that surrounds me, and also to inspire other people to connect with their own divinity. And so that's the why. And so then to make sure that why happens, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to create anything unless I can feel the divinity, which is, to me, divinity means I feel connected to it. Like I feel like there's a cord running between me and the art. And if I can't feel that, I want to go do something else. Go read a book. Because then I'm not in the art. I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always work. You know, sometimes my lizard brain takes over and I just start plowing through and I start making because I think I can do this and I want to make it good. And then I go, no. That's not how we make art anymore. We make art with connection, you know? So connection to me is God. You know, if I can connect to the art, then I'm making sacred art. If I'm just trying to plow through it and make it good, you know, make sure it's the value and the color and the design and all that's great. But that's all in my head. You know, that's all. The divine will do all those things kind of magically if I can just connect to the art. And I want to have value and color and design. I want all of that. But doing the head game is what disconnects me from it. And it's not, I know it's not that good when I do it from that place.
Absolutely. I love that you call it also like sacred art. I think that that's such it brings in the essence of where art comes from, that deep channel of something else, and being able to tap into that power is so incredible. And it is sacred, you know, and it comes from this source that we can't quite understand, but it has this power when in that space of creating that just sort of takes you on this ride, and you're in it and you're like, you know, in this zone that zone is the closest thing that I can experience is my direct connection to my higher self or God or the universe. Yeah. And I often find that at night I find a way better connection with that. I don't know what that is, or early in the morning, but the energy of the daytime, I have a harder time tapping into that channel. What is your experience with that?
I agree. I mean, I can't, so many times at night, like I'll wake up, I'll be dreaming about art, but I don't go follow the chain when I get up. But I've just started changing that. So I had this dream recently of, well, not just recently, I've been wanting to do landscapes for a long time, and landscapes just sounded so boring.
Yeah.
Like landscape, how can that be spiritual? But I've been dreaming of it forever. I'm attracted to other artists to do landscapes. So this has only happened like 2 weeks ago. So then I said, I got an idea. Why don't you just take all your collage pieces and turn it into a magical landscape as if it's a real landscape? And I did it. And I was like, oh my God. And it took me like maybe 2 hours to make 2 collages, which that never happens. I mean, that's like really fast for me. And then the next day I started painting on them as if they were a painting on top of a collage. And now I have these 2, to me, they're divinely, I mean, I love these things, but it's magical, you know, when I can actually follow the chain of what my inspiration, because inspiration to me is God talking to me, but it's so easy not to follow it. You know, I want to follow, I got to finish this piece of art. You know, I have to finish this one, or I have to complete it. Like, let me struggle to get through this thing, as opposed to which art is calling me today. So like, that's part of the ritual that I don't always follow, but I want to follow. Like I have like 10 pieces in here that are in some stage. So instead of just like running after the one that needs the work, or my brain says I should be working on it, I go, okay, which one of you really wants to play today? And, you know, if I can do that with a cup of tea and just really settle into like which one gets me excited, which is kind of like God talking, then it works. Doesn't always work that way though, you know, because I want to finish something,
right?
Or I want to solve a problem, you know, with the art.
And that's often what I experience with, you know, why it's important to have that maybe that monetary foundation, because there are moments that the creative channel gets mucky. I mean, if you're going through something in your life, it's got to be clear. That's why the ritual is important. That's why connecting to yourself and understanding what your needs are important. And if that's not there, it sounds like it's like then you have to force this power that is not meant to be forced.
Right. It's funny because, I've dreamt of being a full-time artist and making a living as a full-time artist for as long as I can say. It's been 20, 30, 27 years actually that I've wanted to do this. And what I've learned in the last couple years since I've gone back to my full-time, I consider this full-time art because I only work, 5 days a week. Since I've gone back, is making money as an artist is not the goal, which is so weird to say because it's always been the goal. What the goal is now is to follow the chain of where I'm being led to serve. And if you sell art, that would be bliss. But you know what? Maybe something else. I can't imagine that it won't be art because I do sell art. I make art. That's what I do all day long. But maybe I'm meant to do something close to that. I just don't think that me deciding I'm going to make all my money as an artist is going to make me all my money from an artist. I think it's following the breadcrumbs one by one because that's how it's always worked.
Yeah.
Because the plan never works. It's always, can I really hear and can I really follow that? By the way, when you called and asked for the podcast, I consider that a breadcrumb because I love podcasts. I love speaking on podcasts. And I had spoken on quite a few of them a couple of years ago before I quit my job. And they did a lot of good for me, did a lot of good for my career as an artist. And then that had to stop because other things, had other breadcrumbs. But when you called and said, oh, you might be a fit. And then I looked you up and went, oh my goodness, yes, that is a fit. It's kind of like a breadcrumb, like, that might be time. It might be time to do that again, because I think podcasts are an amazing way. And maybe it has something to do with the art. I may not, I don't, and by the way, I don't care. I really don't care whether it's, I'm going to sell a bunch of art, or maybe I'm going to sell teaching something, or maybe I'm going to be a full-time Myers-Briggs trainer. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. As long as I'm following the breadcrumbs and serving where I'm supposed to serve.
Yeah. And I find that with the podcasting, it's just being able to hear someone's story can change someone's life. I mean, you just speaking is being in service, being able to provide that level of clarity and just, taking us on that journey of your own life. It definitely, I've heard and seen and witnessed the power in podcasting. I mean, podcasting, when I was listening, changed my life. And it's incredible where we are today and just being able to find each other, in this world where we're so connected, yet studies say we're not so connected. But I think once we really realize how powerful it is to be able to connect and have that moment of, this conversation happening and how divine and how much synchronicities and how much magic is coming from this source is why, I think we've just got to keep, like you say, follow the breadcrumbs. And I love that surrender is such a big theme in this talk and topic right now, because I think a lot of the energies at play require a lot. I mean, it's always a requirement almost to surrender, but it seems like lately that has been a topic, coming up. So it's all divine.
It is divine. I mean, I love that, part that you have a mix of things that you do. And, it's, you were saying before we got started, that you have a number of different things you work on. And they're all, to me, all part of how you are serving in a very unique kind of tapestry of, I don't know, like service of what you're giving to us, the universe, to all the people that listen to you. I mean, all a divine gift. I mean, it's very profound what you're doing. And,
thank you.
And who knows where it's going to lead, because all you know is that you love doing this. And that love will lead you to something. We just don't know what it is yet. The key is, can you open your arms to that, even if you don't know the destination? At least that's my journey, is not trying to make it into something before it's ready or before it's obvious where it's going.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I definitely feel into all of that. And I have found myself here because I did follow breadcrumbs and I followed my heart. And I think that that's what everybody, the listeners and everyone in here tuning in, everybody's really looking for that right now. Like, how do I find my heart? How do I lead from my heart space? And that's really what we really bring into the conversation is how do we, as women especially, lead from the heart and lead from that place and follow that space and listen and tune in and understand what the heart is really saying. Because oftentimes, like you reference it to the lizard brain. And you referencing it to that is so good because it really separates instead of saying like the ego, which is what I would say. I think the lizard is it's like it's this part of our brain that has that reptilian side that really pulls from this experience of living from the heart. And when we follow our heart, look at where it's led. Look at where it's led you. It's beautiful. So, wow. Well, this whole conversation, I loved and enjoyed this topic, like where we went. And I always open myself up for these, like, where is it going to go? And that's why I love, this is my platform to be intuitive and to just trust and allow. Because I've tried having all these questions, like, this is what I'm going to ask her. And this is how I'm going to do it. And this is how it's going to look. And they don't quite pull out the juiciness that I'm looking for.
Wow. No, what you did is very sacred. And I really appreciate the way you did that because I have been on other podcasts and they're all great too. But your style is very, very guided. And that's very, it's very special to be part of. So thank you for letting me into your space. I'm truly honored. And I'm truly honored to have connected with you. You're a very special soul. And as what I would call an old soul, a very wise woman.
Well, thank you. It is an honor to meet you and see. I love seeing behind you, everyone listening. You can't see, but her art studio is so beautiful. And to just really see you in your divine creative essence is so inspiring and uplifting and empowering because I fully believe like when we're in our creative power, that's when we're truly connected to our sacred feminine gifts. Like that is our gift. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And I hope that we continue to connect, and I can't wait to follow you on all the things and support your journey. But for everyone out there listening that would love to see your art and support you in your art and connect with you, where can they find you?
I'm at catherinerains.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, which I'm pretty active on. And that's catrains.artist. You get that?
catherinerains.art. And how do you spell that?
So Catherine is C-A-T-H, just like Catherine, C-A-T-H-E-R-I-N-E, Rains, RAINS.com. It's catherinerains.com. And then Instagram is catrains.artist.
All right, beautiful. Well, I'm going to wrap this up with some of my favorite questions to end the show today. I can't believe it's ending. It always goes by so fast. But what does it mean to you to be a goddess?
Oh, goodness. It means to be true to what I was meant to do. To be authentic in my own shoes, to be grounded, have my feet on the ground, and to serve whoever crosses my path in whatever way I'm supposed to serve them. To me, that's being a goddess. It's being connected to divine. That's being a goddess.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful. I agree very much so on that note. All right, love. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. And I love you all so much. For those who have been tuning in, I hope that this message landed for you and you received some healing medicine from this beautiful she story with Catherine. It's been such an honor to sit in the seat of another beautiful artist, and I can't wait to see where your journey goes and for us all to support you. So we love you. I see you. I hear you. Bye for now, sisters. Bye, Catherine.
Bye. Thank you.